Hi, everybody. I'm Ed,
I'm Sandy.
and this is part three of our boondocking series, Over the Hills Boondocking series. And on one and two, we covered the technical equipment and those things. But this is the exciting one for me because part three, we thought the best thing we can do to help people is start right from the beginning, how we started out, and what the progression that led to how we boondock now. And so I'll try and keep it succinct, but there's a lot of good information here, and bear with me while we go through this. So way back in 2019, in April, we bought a travel trailer. We had already done the work on getting a truck and making sure it had the towing capacity. We settled on travel trailer over other options, and that was all said and done. We took it to a friend's house because we didn't have the room where we were at, and set it up in his driveway and set about trying to make some improvements for it to the trailer because we're going to hit the road. Now, we bought a 2012 Keystone Bullet travel trailer with a front kitchen, and it was really gently used. Describes it well. It was in great shape and still is today. But that's just let you know that's what we're working with here. So what I set about doing was why we had some time. I wanted to change out some things. First was the LED lights throughout the trailer. Take it from using 4 watts per light to 1, so 75% less energy used. And thought that was pretty good. And it had 2 vents, ceiling vents, but only one had a little tiny 3-inch fan in the middle of a square foot opening. In the bathroom, yeah. And we knew that wasn't going to be adequate for ventilation. And, again, I'm thinking about we're going to be living in this thing, full-time RVing. And so we bought 2 ceiling fans and put the one in the kitchen and replaced the one in the bathroom and got those wired in. We threw in, now, during the course of all this, it's just okay, I'm working on the trailer at my friend's house, and then I go back to our place, and Sandy's got all her chores she's doing, trying to get the place emptied out, and I'm working on the trailer. And one of the things I did wrong when I was doing this, I left something on, and to this day I can't remember what it was, but the bottom line was I killed the battery on the trailer. Totally dead when I got there the next day.
It was a lead acid battery that came with the trailer. We don't know how old it was, really.
Yeah, that's true. But now I realize it's toast. It won't take a charge. It just won't stay charged up. And so that sent me down the rabbit hole, and I started researching about batteries, lead acid batteries, or AGM's better, deep cycle batteries, and all these different batteries. And during the course of that, I came across the lithium iron batteries. And when I started weighing everything out, I thought, we need to take the plunge and buy one of these things. And we got one, and it's 100 amp hours. So we had that installed. And it came with a battery monitoring system that you would wire in. But we ran out of time. I couldn't get it done before we had to go. And I mean, we can't live in the trailer in our French driveway. We gotta go. And so we hit the road. Now, all through 2019, I don't think we ever boondocked. We stayed mostly at RV parks when we started out, and so of course we had full hookups. Later into that year, we did stay at some state parks. Now, state parks normally provided electric and water hookups, but you have to go to the dump station to empty your tanks, which was fine. But, that was getting us a little bit closer, a lot more freedom. The state parks, you don't have people right next to you. Yeah, you don't have the comfort of full hookups. So I guess in some ways that was our introduction, so how we gradually moved into this. The first time we ever boondocked in our life was December of 2019 at Quartzsite, Arizona, out in the middle of the Posa South Desert. And that meant, of course, we were relying on our generator and everything else. The first night we were there, we thought, this is just fantastic. We're loving all the room. Very naive about the whole thing, quartzite and all that. But that's a different story. So we're sitting around, we're listening to the radio, we're got the lights on, we're just jamming away, having a great time. About 5-6 hours into it, it was the middle of December when we got there, so long, short days, long nights, and pow, nothing, blackness. So realized killed the battery. But again, with the lithium, I started the generator up, we got it charged up, and it's fine. Now, so we started to learn from that, and then in the learning experience we were having was this. At night, of course, it was getting cold, and during the day in quartzite, mid-December, it's pleasant. You don't need an air conditioner, and you probably really
60s,
don't.
it's in the 60s during the day.
That's right, and you don't need heat either. So what we found was we would run the generator for about 4 to 5 hours to charge up our laptops, to make sure our cell phones are charged, and to also make sure that the battery is topped off before we go to bed at night. And that way, if the furnace would run, even more chances were good that the battery would carry us through the night. We had one night where it didn't, and it was a very cold night, and the blower consumed so much electricity for the furnace that it once again killed the battery. And we found ourselves at 3 o'clock in the morning up. Thank goodness there wasn't any neighbors really close to us, and we fired the generator up. And although it's quiet still, I mean, this is all against etiquette.
Yeah.
And fired the generator
We felt really bad.
We did. Ran around, apologized to the closest people next to us, and none of them even heard it. But anyway, we started to realize, 4 to 5 hours a day on the generator, well, that's not bad, but it's not good either. And so we looked at solar. And in quartzite, that's easy to do. There's a lot of RV suppliers there. And we found a Zamp suitcase solar panel with a controller that puts out 140 watts. And we found that at Solar Discount.
Discount Solar.
Discount Solar, thank you. And I remember researching it, and they actually had a cheaper price than anything I could find online, including Amazon. Mm-hmm. So we talked about it. We decided to buy it. It wasn't cheap, $600. And did all the necessary wiring. And just prior to doing that, I wired the battery monitoring system in, which is a shunt. And it comes with a little monitor, which I never look at, because that little monitor sends out a Bluetooth signal. I downloaded an app on my phone, and I can look at the state of the battery. I know if it's being charged, if it's discharging, the state of it, percentage-wise. It's really great. So I did that just prior to us going to get a solar panel. And I was running around the trailer. Well, not running, but you know what I mean. Not much room to run.
No.
But I was looking at, geez, there's 13 watts going out, and there's nothing on. I don't understand what's going on. And I kept trying to shut the little LED lights off on the panel. Notice that would drop at like 1 watt with both of them shut off. But where the rest of this is going, I didn't know. I mean, it had to be for some reason. The next day we went and we talked to the fellow about the solar panel, and he was very knowledgeable, and he suggested we step up one size that we were looking at, and we listened to him and went ahead and did it. And that was based on, he asked, well, what's your phantom load? I didn't know the term at the time, but he was saying, you've got your smoke detectors, you've got your propane sensors, and your solenoid for your refrigerator probably, and you've got some other things that are always running in the background. Do you know what your phantom load is? I knew what he was talking about now. My light bulb went on, and I said, yes, it's about 13 watts. And
he also asked us specifically if we were running our furnace.
Yes, that's true.
He did, because the furnaces really do use a ton of electricity, so that is a big factor in deciding how much solar power to get.
That's right. So we hooked it up, and wow, what a success. That solar panel charges our battery up by noon every day, nonstop, no fail.
Yeah.
Of course, unless it was cloudy or something like that. And I know what you might be thinking right now. Well, yeah, you're sitting in the middle of the desert and it's totally open sky. But what about other times? And I'll get to that in just a little bit. So now we found that the battery's charged by noon, and all we're using the generator for now is if we need to run our server to transfer videos, photos, and we were using it for a coffee maker in the morning. So we fired the poor thing up for 15 minutes and then shut it back down. And then we went to a percolator coffee maker, started using the gas top, which we found out uses a lot less propane than firing that generator up. And some of you out there might be saying, well, of course it does, Ed. Well, I didn't know. And so now we're not running the generator to make coffee every morning. Still run it to make sweet tea and to fire up the server.
And we did buy one of the little buddy heaters.
Yes. That
was pretty early on in our quartzite time to try and get rid of running the furnace quite so much in the evenings.
Well, that's a good point, Sandy. That is. So with the little buddy, and it takes like those little green Coleman tanks, lack of a better name. And so we have 3 of those, and I use a little adapter to screw on some people call it a barbecue tank, or it's a 4.5 gallon or a 10-pound propane tank, whatever you want to call it. And then I flip it upside down, recharge the tanks. So we use the little buddy throughout the night, and it's time to go to bed, and the furnace can run and keep us through the night, and it won't kill the battery. And it really doesn't even come close. And then we can hook the solar back up in the morning, or it is already hooked up and the sun's shining, and then goes to juice again. So that was that evolution. Now what happened next was that I got looking at this battery always being topped off at noon, and it was driving me crazy because we're losing all this energy that it's making after 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock is for naught. And so we bought travel chargers for our laptops that you would plug into the cigarette lighter of a car, 12 volt. So then I hardwired them into the trailer with a panel switch, and it's fused. And so now we can set our table, and we can just plug these chargers in instead of the 120 volts, flip the switch, and charge our laptops and our cell phones too. I also did a wiring thing for that, so we have a USB for those kind of devices that need it. And we can charge everything up and be working too. And then by the end of the day, and it's starting to get dark, the solar panel, of course, isn't putting out, but the battery was still topped off. And that's one 100 amp lithium ion battery and one 140 watt solar suitcase, and the little buddy heater to offset things. And we found that we were really comfortable.
Yes,
I think.
Very comfortable.
And so after quartzite, then we hit the road. Well, just backing up a little bit, when we were at quartzite the first time, I came back from the dump station, and I was using the stroller when we just leave the trailer stationary. And yeah, I had to make 3 runs or so, but then I got water and I got rid of the trash. And I came back and I asked Sandy, I said, are we really boondocking? Because it just didn't seem like it was that hard.
No.
we had gotten it to a point that we were really comfortable. So anyway, we left quartzite and we hit the road, and I had some questions in my mind, like, how's this all already going to work out? I mean, we're going to be up in the woods and all that. Well, one of the good things we did when we bought the solar panel, and it was Sandy's idea, a very good one, was to get a 30-foot extension cord to plug into the battery box so that it gives us a large area that we can move the suitcase solar panel around in. And we boondocked all throughout 2020
And we never had trouble finding a sunny spot to put that solar panel in.
Yeah.
Never had trouble.
No. And even when it started to wind down in fall. I mean, we were up in Minnesota, or not Minnesota, Montana. And I mean, we were right up next to Glacier National Park.
The Canadian border.
Yeah, we went up to the Canadian border to see that too. And bottom line is, it worked great.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really satisfied with our system, and it makes us very comfortable. Now, I tell you all that because, if you're thinking of going boondocking, that covers your electrical needs and some heating needs, right? So, hopefully, because if you're not comfortable, you're going to have a bad boondocking experience, and you're just not going to want anything to do with it. So some preparation is good. And if you're worried, if you're going to try and buy, say, a travel trailer, and you want to try boondocking or full-time RVing, don't worry about the cost of something like a lithium-ion battery and a solar suitcase. If you decide to sell that rig down the road, you've made improvements to that thing that anybody that's getting ready to hit the road will appreciate. And as hot as the RV market is, it's not going to be a detriment. It's going to be an asset if you want to sell the rig and you change your mind.
Or you could just sell those pieces separately to some people and actually discount solar. And some of the other solar places that we have visited, they take trade-ins. So
so there's upgrade options.
Yeah. There's ways to get your money back for this equipment if you end up not using it.
And the good news is on these lithium-ion batteries, the prices have gone down dramatically. I mean, when I bought mine, the one we got that in 2019, like in February, and it was close to $1,000. And now, not the same brand name, but there's a 100 amp hour lithium-ion batteries out there for around $500. So, you can break into it a lot cheaper than you could 2 years ago. And now for us, Ed, if you said to me, Ed, what would you do different, having learned what you've learned? I would have gotten 200 amp hours worth of batteries, which at the time I was buying them, I would have needed two 100 amp hour batteries and wire them together. And I've since looked into that, but what I've learned is while it's doable, as long as you are buying the same brand of batteries, because they have controllers inside of them, and that has to, all the tech specs have to match, you still can't do it. You shouldn't do it with a new battery and then a battery that's been used for 2 years. Even if you brought it up both up to full charge and hook them together like you're supposed to, you still have one battery that has 2 years of cycles on it, and they don't recommend that you do that. So for us, somewhere down the road, trading that battery in and getting what we can get and jumping up to a 200 amp hour battery, if I had anything to do over again, if we had 200 amp hours, that would help buffer us through cloudy days, because as it is now, the one little niche in our system is if we get the solar panel, assuming it's not raining, you got it sitting out, and if it's just totally overcast, it's still a good thing to do because it's at least taking care of the phantom load on the battery. So it'll keep the battery level. It's not, no juice is going into it, but nothing's going out. And every once in a while, it clears a little bit. Oh my gosh, we're picking up a watt or 3 watts. So it carries you through the day, but when you get into like 3 days of cloudy weather, that's where we're into a little bit of trouble. Now, 3 days of cloudy weather is pretty unusual. And so in my mind, if I had 200 amp hour of reservoir, I can't imagine that we would need any more. Can you, Sandy?
No, not at all.
And so then the last thing I would touch on is what your electrical needs are going to be are greatly affected by your lifestyle too, and you have to keep that in mind. So, The reason we're able to do things the way we do is, number one, we don't have any interest in television. We don't watch TV.
Never did, even when we were at home.
And we don't have an inverter. And quite honestly, I mean, unless you have some really solid need for an inverter, some of these electrical stuff just gets me. I don't get, like, for example, the TV that's in our trailer is 120 volt. Well, it's a 2012 travel trailer. So you're bringing in solar energy. You're taking 12 volts through an inverter to knock it up to 120 volts AC to plug in a flat screen TV that now has it's going to step it back down to DC current with its transformer and run it at like 1.3 volts. And sure enough, if you look it up today, Jensen, which is a big supplier of RV TVs, they make 12 volt TVs. You just wire them into the 12 volt side, and that makes a lot more sense to me. But the one thing that we don't watch TV, and we don't have a dish that we set out. Our entertainment is very simple. We can listen to the radio. We can play the radio during the day, and the battery's still fine if we want to listen to that kind of media. Or we can, use Pandora and listen to music. And we use a little boom box that connects Bluetooth, so we have, some fidelity to the sound. Or we can stream a movie if we want to. And most of the time, especially with the new 5G, we're finding that's really not a problem so far wherever we go. And like right now, we're up near the south rim of the Grand Canyon, and we have good internet access.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
It's awesome.
So you would have to weigh in on what your electrical needs are going to be. And, but your lifestyle is going to change over time. We've just changed so much, and for the good, to adapt to the RV lifestyle living, that boondocking that we love so well.
Right, and everybody's experience is different, and we understand that. But
yes.
we just want to explain to you what we do to kind of get you thinking about options that are available for you.
Yeah. One of the things that I bought prior to leaving, well, I had had it for some time. There's a little instrument called kilowatt, and it's easy to find if you just type in kilowatt. It's a way of measuring. So it plugs into an outlet, and then you plug the appliance into it, and then turn the appliance on. It tells you how much it's drawing. So if you have that must-die item that's going to come with you, you can figure out, at least get a handle on how much it's going to draw. You're certainly probably going to have to plug in your generator, but you at least should know the wattage needs as you're going to be plugging in, so you don't overload the generator. Let's say if you have that beloved air fryer that you brought and the AC's running and the generator's running that, now you're going to fire that up. Probably isn't going to happen. But that's one way you should check all the wattages and see what you've got. And it's a progression. We brought an air fryer with us.
We don't have it anymore.
And we don't have it anymore because we love it. Don't get me wrong. We love the way, food items came out of it. But it's big, it's bulky, it required firing up the generator. And we've learned to cook on the gas top in a different way. We got rid of the panini maker, and we're making barbecued sandwiches or hot sandwiches toasted on both sides, and it's not crushed by the panini maker either.
Right. We hardly ever use our microwave.
Yeah, we've actually, we've talked to some people that have taken theirs out. Well, I wouldn't go that far. But
we do use it every once in a while, maybe once or twice a month, but...
And right, most of the time it is the bread box.
Yeah,
to clear up more counter space. But tear it out. No, I want to keep my options open.
Yeah.
And so, but your habits will change, and you'll, I think, in a way, adapt to what you're involved in, and hopefully enjoy it as much as we do.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line. If this has been helpful to you in any way in your future boondocking or full-time RV experiences, we would love to hear from you. And you can do that at our YouTube channel and subscribe. We'd love to hear your comments. And thanks for listening in. Thanks for watching. We'll see ya.
Take care.
Bye.